Hello, so those of you that are observant might notice I've got a new mask on, one that I've not actually done any videos on before. I'll just give it a few minutes for everybody to get into the stream, for notifications to get sent out and whatever. It's a PPM88 or GP9 is the two names for it. The people on here are fans of the Metro games, will find this mask interesting because this is the actual mask that they used in all the Metro stuff. Oh, I've just noticed that two of the straps have actually gone into the mask, so if I pull that out, that makes it a bit more comfortable. There we go. Yeah, it's fairly cool. The oral nasal cup inside's a bit tight, so that's a bit tight on my nose and not too comfortable. And the cover on the exhale valve is a bit flimsy as well, so that keeps falling off. You can't see it because the filter's in the way. So no, not really comfy. I think for some people's face sizes it might be comfy, but not really for me. I'll only keep it on for a bit, then I'll take it off. Field of view is pretty good, but the section here blocks your view, where the bottom of that section is. On some panoramic lens masks you can see better there, but I think it's because it's not too close to the eyes, the lens. I use a respirator, like a dust mask style one, when I volunteer, if I'm working in a dusty environment. I've never used a 3M full face mask, so I can't say how it compares to those, but it's about average when it comes to panoramic masks. Anyway, I'll take this one off now, so I can speak a bit easier, and I can also drink my coffee, but I'll just show it on the camera so you can get a look at it. It's size 2, so it might be a size 3 would be a better fit for me, I'm not sure. But it's like the very last sort of Soviet design mask as far as I'm aware, and sort of like this one's made after the fall of the Soviet Union. No, this one is from 2007 by the look of it, because it says 07 and 07 on there. But as far as I'm aware, it's the exact same design as the Soviet style one. Yeah, well, 3M sort of one of the world's leading manufacturers of masks and safety equipment. Tell you what, I'll just pop my glasses on in a minute so I can read the text on the chat without enlarging it, because I'm short-sighted. It's easier just a bit for me if I have the glasses on for reading the chat there. I very rarely go on. I have been on our gas masks before, but I very rarely go on it because, as I've said in other videos, often when I'm posting on there, it sort of derails a thread because people start trying to talk to me, or they'll start complaining about me because the fact they either like or dislike my videos, not the actual subject of what I'm talking about. Okay, yeah, I've heard of it, Mike. I knew it was a Coen Brothers film, but I haven't actually seen it. Did that come out fairly recently? Or was it like a Netflix-only film or something? I think I might have heard that, but I don't know if that's actually true. No, you can do a review of whatever mask you want. I can't copyright people doing gas mask reviews, and I would not want to copyright people doing that either. I'm not one of those people who says, oh no, I own exclusive rights to do videos on gas masks or something stupid like that. Anybody's free to do that. You can get glasses that fit inside masks. You can get ballistic glasses and all those sort of things as well. Yeah, I heard it was like an anthology film, is it, Mike? No, I've never bought masks from Craigslist. I've only ever bought them from eBay and surplus stores. I think I've bought one or two from like other random websites, but I very rarely do that. That's just when the site's had a particular mask and I want, you know, that'll bother registering for an account to buy one. For the person who said, why do I shave my head? Because masks are more comfortable if I shave my head. It's easier to wash my hair, more hygienic, stops me overheating. Okay, that's good. Is it an hour and a half or 2 hours, Nike, for that film? The GP5 is literally £5 to £10 or dollars. You can buy it like Amazon, eBay, anywhere. For radiological hazards, any mask, really, because all you're doing is protecting your lungs from inhaling alpha radiation in the form of dust. Okay, so it's like 20 minutes of story then, I guess, on that mic. I don't know why, it always seems that when I'm doing this stream, not all the time, but like 99% of the time, I have the cup with my name on it. And that's completely, you know, like inadvertently I do that. It's just, for whatever reason, it seems like I always end up picking up this cup whenever I'm doing a stream. I don't know if it's a subconscious thing. Yeah, I've seen 6 Days, but I didn't think it was a Netflix film, was it? Or is it a Netflix exclusive? But I have seen 6 Days, yeah. You can hollow out a GP5 filter, but I wouldn't recommend it unless you know exactly what you're doing, because you obviously risk getting asbestos dust loose from the filter elsewhere. If Richard comes on, I'll tell him what a good job his bill hook's done, because I was using that. It was both, I think, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday in the garden, because we've got loads and loads of ivy that's overgrown the fence, and it's where the council are meant to have cut it off, because it's trees, or like tree stumps that are in the field behind our house, which obviously the council own. But they've not done it in years, so I finally took the bill hook to it. And then what I did today was actually went out in the field with a bill hook behind my house, because I had a reasonable excuse for having it on it. Having it, you know, on me, because I was doing gardening with it. So I was actually out in the field with a bill hook, nobody said anything, trimming back 2 trees worth of ivy. I found quite funny, to be honest, in a sense, because you know how some people panic over things like that. Yeah, my finger's a lot better now. You probably can't really see much on it if I hold it up. There's still a little bit of a cut there, but it's nearly totally gone now, so that's good. I don't need to put plasters on it anymore, because I don't think I'm going to be able to cause it to break open again. Yeah, that's the Lee Enfield. Number 1 Mark III, I think is the technical designation of it, SMLE. Yeah, the machetes, good, there's Richard, speaking of the devil. I was saying, Richard, that I was making really good use of your bill hook, because I've been chopping back a load of ivy that was overgrowing in the garden, and the bill hook did a really good job at that, so thank you. But speaking about like using machetes and that, I was using both my kukri and the other machete for it, and it was much slower going machetes and kukris. You know, like you'd have to chop at each of the vines 4 or 5 times with the machete or the kukri to actually get the bit of vine down. With a bill hook, you just thrust it up, yank it back, and it would pull out like 5 or 6 ivy vines at once. So with the bill hook, I was literally just going along doing that, you know, getting it all down, where it would have taken hours if I had to use a machete and like a knife to do all of it. That's good, Mike. Yeah, so I guess you just need to get like the actual pole section of it, do you now? And like a way of securing it. We've got an old bill hook somewhere, like just the handheld bill hook that's sort of like a machete. Might find that at some stage. I think it's just in the shed. Well, I now and again stream video games, but more people like me doing the webcam ones. And I definitely wouldn't stream Firewatch. That was a very disappointing game. What's buoyed them? Do you mean they'll bend the knives? If it's a well-tempered knife, you're not going to bend it. It might snap, but it's not going to bend. Okay, so you just need to get a pole and a rivet. So you're going to make like a proper military style bill, Mike, then, with like a thrusting spike and that on it. Oh, for people saying about the Metro Exodus RTOM edition that has that gas mask with it, because some people worried saying, is it like an asbestos filter? It's actually a finish mask. I think it's Finish M71 that they actually had in there. I couldn't make out very good details because it's just in the video and like a small picture, but I'm pretty sure it's I don't know what mask you mean by the MP3. Is that a Polish one? But if it's a Polish one, you'll probably mean like the SHM41 style mask, do you? Well, all filters have charcoal if it's an NBC filter. That doesn't mean it can't contain asbestos or whatever else. That sounds good, Mike. Yeah, because I was actually using the thrusting spike a little bit than the bill hook as well for clearing a tree, because what I was doing is I was thrusting it in and then twisting it, because the trees are dead, because they're basically, what's happened is, behind our garden there's an empty field, because that's where people say, oh, you might shoot people on like a footpath or a road if you're shooting your air rifle or your crossbow and it goes through the fence. No, I wouldn't, it's an empty field, but I do have a backstop anyway. But in that field there's two trees. Well, there used to be quite a lot of trees going all along like the side of the field, and one year one of the trees fell down in heavy wind and it like landed on our shed. If it hit somebody it would have killed them. So at that stage council finally realised they ought to probably cut them down. So I can't remember if they had to pay damages for like it falling in our garden, because it's technically on their land, but obviously it fell over and went into our garden. So the council cut the rest of the trees down, but they didn't bother cutting them down properly. They sort of cut them to like an 8-foot stump or something, and then they've not done any maintenance on them since. So they've obviously, where the wood's dead, it's been covered in ivy, and now the ivy's growing onto the fence and damaging our fence. So yeah, I finally got to the stage where I was fed up and got the bill hook and started just chopping it all down. But I was actually doing quite a bit of thrusting and whacking at the tree trunks when I was out there, because I thought I might as well. And yeah, the bill hook was literally just breaking that tree apart like it was nothing. The OM14's an SHM41 clone. I've done a video that goes through all of the Eastern Bloc GP5 style masks, which are SHM style masks. Well, when I get my 100th mask, I won't actually know if it's the 100th mask. Because I've not got that file anymore where I've actually keep track of them. So I could be on the 100th mask already, I don't know. Yeah, the PPM88 could have been the 100th mask, I don't know. It's going to be 90 odd something. But I don't see the point in celebrating having 100 masks. What was I going to say? Yeah, I did film some of it, Mike. The pics were from the video I filmed, but the video I filmed was just the stuff I was doing in the garden on the first day. Then when I went out the other day, it was wet and everything, so I didn't want to film or film any more footage. All I wanted to do was just literally go out and chop down a bit more of it. And then today I didn't film for the obvious reasons that I wasn't on my property, cutting it down. Because, as said, I have a perfectly good reasonable excuse to be doing it, because the council's meant to have cut it down and they've not bothered, and it's sort of, bad to have the ivy there, but I didn't want to actually go out and film myself in a public place, swinging a machete and a polearm around, because as much as I was doing it, and I had the, right to do it, it's probably not a good idea to stick that up on the internet. But there's going to be like a 6-minute odd video from, where I was actually in the garden just doing that. That got a load of the ivy down, but yeah, I've like stripped nearly all of it down now, so it was quite a long job, and both my shoulders and arms are aching, because if you've ever cut down ivy, you know how tough it is. But one of my friends was quite surprised I managed it, because he said he tried, you know, cutting down ivy with a secateurs and a knife before. And we were saying how hard that is. I said, yeah, but if you have a pole arm, it's quite a bit easier, isn't it? Because of just the force you can exert using a pole arm compared to, you know, trying to use a little hand knife or whatever. Well, this video that will go on at some point in about a month's time is in the garden, where I'm cutting down the ivy using a pole arm. But it's really kind of weather dependent, and if I'm doing a video that's out there. One of my friends has bought a new crossbow, so if he either comes around and shoots it around mine, or I go around his and shoot it, I'll definitely try and film some of that. Yeah, it's surprisingly tough, isn't it? Some of this ivy mic, because that's funny, ivy mic, that was a US hydrogen bomb. Completely by accident I said that, but yeah, mic. Some of that ivy was actually, like, the stuff of it was so thick, where, I don't know what you call it, like the vines, I guess, that, you know, like they were well over an inch thick. They were like almost actual proper tree branches, some of the bits of ivy where it was growing on the fence and, you know, bits of the tree. But yeah, it does make you realise just how effective pole arms were in combat, you know, when you can just destroy that ivy by thrusting and like pulling it back. Whereas if you were, you know, like where I was using my machetes and that, even the kukri and the giant machete I had was taking, you know, like a lot of swings to do the same amount of effort. And that, yeah, and I chopped a bit of the tree down using the bill hook afterwards, because I thought, you know, Richard did a video chopping logs with his other bill hook, so I thought I'll give it a test and see what happens. And yeah, I was able to do that, you know, get it properly embedded in the wood, pull it out. So I've chipped the tree down a bit more than it was before. I didn't really look at much other than the gas mask in it. I did see there was a watch thing in there, but yeah, I only looked because people were asking me was it a safe gas mask, so otherwise I wasn't really looking at that. It says it's green at my end, so if it's lagging, I'd suggest you put the video quality down to a lower setting at your end. If you have a question, just post it. Don't say if you have time, just post the question. No, I cannot speak Norwegian. Well, I was saying, I don't know who else would actually be using my knives, to be honest. That's the thing. Nobody uses my knives except for me. And if I was lending a knife to somebody, I'm sure it would actually be somebody I'd trust to use it properly. Is that like an energy drink, Peach? Don't think so. Out of all the Polish masks I have, the MP5 is my favourite. But the MP6 looks very good, and there's two versions of the MP6, isn't there? One with a panoramic lens, one with the two individual eyepieces, but I don't have an MP6, so I can't say how good it is. I'm sure if somebody managed to bend a machete, they must have been hitting concrete with it or something, because I have never bent any of my machetes in the history of me having them. Which one? It's a Lee Enfield at the top, short magazine Lee Enfield SMLE, and there's an FN FAL L1A1 rifle hanging vertically next to it. Funnily enough, that was the rifle that replaced that one in service. I mean, if you ignore the other variants of Enfield that came after it, but that was the rifle that, you know, that was in use from like 18 something or other to 1950 odd, and the L1A1 was in use from like 1950 odd to the mid 80s, early 90s. When they phased it out. Yeah, very tough, Rich. I've bought a sharpening thing for it now because it's still sharp, but obviously going through 2 tree trunks worth of ivy, as I said, about 8 foot high worth of ivy all around the tree. Yeah, that's already... It's not obviously buckled or bent the edge, which is very good, but it's dulled it a little bit, so I'm definitely going to resharpen that. So I've ordered a tool off of Amazon that looks quite good for sharpening things like bill hooks. It's a bit like a sharpening steel, where it's like one side of it's coarse, the other's you know, the fine side, and it's got, you know, like a handle, but it's a vertical one, and it's just so it's a bit easier to put along the edge of something like a bill hook, because I don't think my sharpening stones would be very good to try and you know, do the angle of a billhook. Well, what do you mean, like a military-style polearm billhook, or a just like a gardening one? Because gardening ones are like anywhere between £20 and £50, depending on the size of the pole they're attached to and like the size of the hook. The one I had was £50. Richard Weaponsmith, who's in the chat, made it for me because he does like forging stuff. And then I fit it to a pole because he made it in 35mm socket, so I could just stick it on a pole easily. But the cold steel actual billhook, when they used to do that, they used to charge like well over £100 or £200 for it. Because I was considering getting one of those at one point, then I heard, you know, bad things about it, and I didn't actually end up getting one. That's why I ended up building that halberd that's actually out of frame at the moment, but myself. But then I'm actually much happier with the billhook because Richard's done a really good job on it. I've got on a shorter pole, so it's actually more practical for using, and yeah, it turns out it's really good for gardening work as well. Out of between Harry Potter and The Hobbit, maybe Harry Potter, but Lord of the Rings by easily, you know, I prefer than the other two. If you're on about the films, not the books. If you're on about the books, then Hobbit. A military-style billhook, you'd probably have to get somebody to make one for you then, because other than the cold steel one, which I think's discontinued, I don't actually know of any companies that do military billhooks. Oh, cool. So is it like a blanking plug type one, the MP6, like the FM12 is, and like some of the other masks where you can switch the thing around on either side or put two filters on it if you wanted to. I like a lot of the 80s stuff, when back when there was at least funding for it and it was domestically like produced and used stuff, unlike now where it's mostly all foreign bought equipment. No, that's the exact length it's always been, Mike. I don't know if it's like the aspect ratio where I've got the video sort of squashed in so you can see everything there, because I think normally it would look a bit more stretched because the Lee Enfield wouldn't be in the frame, so it would look longer. I don't know if my hands are visible, so where it looks like that size at the moment, if I move my hands up into frame, hopefully, maybe, are they in frame now? It would actually look a lot bigger. It's just, I think, how the video sort of squashed a bit to get it into like the widescreen resolution. Alright, glad you're enjoying the stream. Don't know if I think you can buy pyrotechnic smoke bombs in the UK, but I have no idea where you'd actually buy them from. I don't know where I'd really test it because it's not really something you'd let off in your garden. Machete's a pretty big knife though, isn't it? If you're going to class it as a knife, it would be a gross knife, Grossmesser. Yeah, I think that was like some of the complaints I'd heard, Richard, that like there was no edge alignment on the poles, and you know, you had to fit them yourself. The postage was quite expensive because they sent the pole with it. And then, yeah, you had to do all the fitting and everything. So yeah, it worked out much better getting like the one you did with a 35mm socket, and then, you know, just getting, didn't even have to shave the pole down. As I said, it was really good. It just fit really snugly, so all I had to do was drill through the pole to put the rivet in. You can only join my Discord if you support me on Patreon. I think there was somebody actually I need to email an invite to, because I think when I was volunteering today I got a message saying somebody yeah, let me send that person a message now. I don't know if that's you or if you were just saying that anyway, but yeah, I need to send that person an invite because somebody supported me on Patreon. It was either like last thing last night or when I was volunteering today, so I saw the email and thought, right, I'll need to send them a thing, and then obviously didn't get back to them, so sorry about that person. Let me get you a thing up now. No, I don't have PayPal or anything for stuff. I just have Patreon if people want to support me. No, I don't need to, Peach. It's really solid as it is, and I kind of like how it's evenly sticking out of both sides, so I can just easily check it to make sure it's not coming loose. Yeah, car's good, Vladimir, thank you. If you weren't here earlier in the stream, I have got a new Russian mask. Ended up getting a PPM 88, you might have heard anyway on the Discord thing about it. GP9. Right, let me just get an invite for that person who actually supported me. Because I try and always do that as fast as possible, but just as I said, this time I got the thing through when I was out, and then, you know, completely forgot about it when I obviously next got back in. Generate a link, copy it, I'll just go on to their thing. And send that off, and now that person has a Discord link. There we go, and that's done. Yeah, I know the one you mean, Richard. Yeah, I think they look good. Yeah, I volunteer at an animal shelter. I was there today, but we had 3 people on the bit I work on, so we got done pretty quickly. It's just $1 a month, and if people want to pay for like 1 month and then cancel after a month, I won't kick them off the Discord, as I've said to people, because it's pretty harsh to do that. I've only got it like set at that so that, you know, prevents people coming on to cause trouble, because they've at least had to pay once that they're probably not gonna, you know, be there for trolling. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I know Poland's doing a lot to modernise its army at the moment, because they're getting some quite good equipment and everything. Well, we have dogs there, cats, rabbits, guinea pigs, smaller animals like hamsters and things like that. They have a horse unit there as well. I normally just work with the rabbits though, and guinea pigs and everything, but there's like every kind of animal there really. Show you something interesting I took a picture of on my phone, if it shows right on the webcam, because I don't know if it will. Because I went to, like, there's a wildlife park, like a zoo near there as well. Like, it's not the same building, but it's where you know, like it's like there's a nearby zoo, so I buy an annual pass for those each year, because it means that sometimes if I finish volunteering early, because I'm not really going to use any more petrol to drive down to the wildlife park, I might as well go in for an hour or two. So there was one of the, I'm trying to remember, I think, is it called the colobus, this kind of monkey? But there was one of them looking a bit shifty, sitting by a window, so I thought people might find that a bit funny. I don't think the colours are going to come across very well on there, but I thought that was quite funny. It wouldn't surprise me if the economy totally crashes with a lot of the Brexit stuff going on, Peach, and everything else, but lots of people all the time are always saying the economy's going to collapse, and they're only right very few times, aren't they, when there's an actual big recession on. So I don't really tend to listen to a lot of doom and gloom about markets collapsing, because if they collapse, they collapse. There's nothing you can do about it, other than that if you have like basic prepping stuff, I guess. I'd probably pay up to £1,000 for it, but that's just being realistic on what I could afford. But as I said, with a lot of stuff like that, I wouldn't buy it, just because if it's such a rare, valuable antique, I'm not going to be able to look after those masks properly. If you mean the animal shelter, as far as I'm aware, there's no problems with it. That's good, yeah, it's quite practical, isn't it, having a sharpening stone on the necklace? Well, as far as I'm aware, they're not putting the thing through on the 50 cal now, aren't they? They're dropping that. I think if you're somebody who's carrying like acid on you or whatever for the intention of throwing it on people, you should get a life sentence. But I don't think they need to restrict the sale of a lot of stuff more. But obviously the worst bit of it is put lots of companies like Blades and Bows out of business, as like Mike said about in a video and everything else. You know, because a lot of this legislation isn't actually going to stop people as criminals, but it does completely screw over shops selling stuff. I listen to pretty much anything if it sounds good, which is the thing I always answer when I get asked that. But in terms of actual like genres I like, probably prog rock, metal, like 80s metal, some classical stuff, quite a lot of soundtracks I listen to, early industrial sort of stuff, but again it depends. If it sounds good, I'll like it, really. Now, have you heard of Fine Fluke? It's spelled like Fine Flug, but I like a lot of their stuff. They're like a German, like from the 90s, industrial band, like industrial EDM kind of thing. But I don't think they've done anything in years. Yeah, but like as I was saying, the thing is with the corrosive substance thing is it's not going to stop anybody actually getting corrosive substances. Yeah, I did hear there was some politician that said they should start nuking people, apparently. As I said, there's a lot of stuff I'll try listening to and then see if I like it, but generally I just like it if it sounds good. I'll just wait for some more questions to come through. If the stream goes well today and I keep getting interesting questions and there's a lot to talk about, I'll probably go for a bit over an hour. Maybe up to an hour and a half. That's the reason I started a bit earlier today at 7:30, because that way if I went on a bit longer it wouldn't be like I have to run off and leave. Have you thought about doing some more pole arms as well, Richard? Like a bardiche kind of thing, or bardiche, however it's pronounced, would be pretty cool. Because I find it interesting, you know, like the ones that are also like one big blade rather than like the Voog or whatever it's called is kind of interesting as well. I'll paste the names in chat so you can look them up. The other one I like is the bardiche. They're kind of both pretty similar things. I saw you had a Q&A video, Mike. I did watch that and liked it, but I couldn't actually think of anything to ask you earlier when I clicked on it, because it's one of those typical things that, well, because I chat to you so much on like streams and whatever anyway, that you know, it's one of those things where I just can never think of anything when I'm actually asked for a Q&A type things. That's cool. How did you get them for free then? Have the NCR been trying to kill you, driver Neffy? Heard they got a bounty on you. That's cool, yeah. Is that the, because what, like, variant of Tiger Stripe is that? Because I know, like, the Army of South Vietnam used Tiger Stripe, didn't they? Is it like that type of one? Because I know there's some other, like, aftermarket style Tiger Stripes where the colours and the patterns are a bit different. So is it like an original Vietnam style one, or is it like a modernised Tiger Stripe? But yeah, in general, speaking about the pole arms, I just meant you know, just like one of those ones where it's like a big axe blade is like the main point of the pole arm. You know, that's the thing. So I just thought they're quite interesting, the ones which have like a spike and then one great big cleaving blade, rather than having, you know, lots of like little hooks and things on. Like for like actual combat, I think a halberd or a bill hook kind of thing is a lot more practical. But in terms of, you know, looking really cool, yeah, like we're saying, glaives, bardishes, all those sort of things, volgs, they all look really cool because they're sort of more like a great axe, like I'd say, because they've got the massive pole, so it'd be like having an axe with a massive swing force on it. That's cool. If the like the DOS computer didn't mean anything to you and you got a free load of free gas masks you wanted out of it, that's very cool. Yeah, this is a new gas mask. I was showing it at the beginning of the stream. It's not new, but new for me. The gas masks in Metro are more accurate in terms of a lot more of them are like directly real masks, but the gas physics well, I don't know if physics would be the right word, but you know, like the actual sort of how gas and everything works in Metro isn't very realistic, because no matter what the threat is, the filters always last 5 minutes, and you can also do the thing where you can take the mask off and on constantly and it stops you suffocating to death. I'm pretty sure this is polycarbonate. I mean, I don't actually know what is used in it, but I guess some sort of tough plastic, acrylic or polycarbonate. It seems pretty scratch resistant. There's a couple of minor scratches on it, but it's obviously a fairly tough material. I wouldn't really worry about it breaking at all. It seems solidly built in that regard. Like I said, a couple of the accessories on this aren't great. Like this cover's pretty loose, you can probably see. That keeps sort of falling off if you shake the mask too hard, but in terms of the visor, yeah, that seems to be pretty strong, whatever it's made out of. That's a PPM88, also known as a GP9. Yeah, I've seen loads of videos from Hungary and stuff like that as well, where people, in like Estonia, where people go into fallout shelters and they find crates and crates of the old sort of mask stockpiled. No, I don't have one of those knives. Let me Google it. Is there a particular brand that makes them though? Because a lot of the ones I'm seeing just say like they're Sami style knives. They look quite nice, but they look like, yeah, very sort of simple, straightforward knives. It depends what you mean by flip knives. If you mean something like this where you can flick it out, that's legal, but you can't carry it on you unless you have a justifiable reason if it's a locking one. If it's one that like you press a button it springs out, no, but it's quite complicated with some of them, because there's like ones where they are legal if it's a certain style design and not if they're others. But yeah, stuff like this is obviously legal. I don't think your last comment did, Richard. I'll have a look at that camo. That's interesting looking. That reminds me of a Polish camo though. Is it called something like Puma camo or something that Poland used partway through the Cold War? I'm pretty sure it was Poland. They had a camo that looked like that, but it wasn't as green. Or was it Czechoslovakia? I don't know. I think one of the Warsaw Pact countries had a camo really similar to that. Well, the creepiest mask I own is probably the SHMS, and I've not even got it stored in this room, so I can't go and put it on for this video. Ah, cool. Yeah, I'm good, Alex. Thanks. Yeah, I'll be on for at least another 20+ minutes, I should think, on this stream. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm scrolling up, Richard, to see if I've got a comment from you that if I control F, will it let me search through the chat? The one I saw was about you saying about the washing pole, that you're building one of those, and that's the last comment from you that's on there, Richard. Alright, cheers. I'm not Dutch, so I can't give you any advice on Amsterdam, but I think a few of my viewers of Dutch or from Holland or whatever, so they might be able to tell you stuff about that. That's cool. So you're going to make the M50 really bulky. The tinted lenses, though, are very cool. The voice projection units, I don't really know what to think of those, because I kind of think they're a bit pointless if you can just attach them directly to a radio mic, but if you want one, it's cool, I guess. I'd always get one, just because I collect the sort of stuff, but, you know, it's just practicality reasons. I don't know if I actually like them or not for that reason. Yeah, that's good, Richard. That would be quite interesting. But yeah, as I'm saying, I really like your billhook one, just because I've actually been using it for a practical thing, and it's, you know, something that Ivy's been growing for years and years, and it's quite nice that, you know, it made short work of it. Where, like I said, I was actually using machetes and things on it, and that was really slow going with machetes. I'll have to have a think about that, a random confused parrot, because I'm sure there's lots of silly ones, but off the top of my head I can't even think. Yeah, some of the horse masks are a bit strange looking, but I suppose they're practically that way, aren't they? It's deactivated. I couldn't have it on a wall like that if it was functional. Although most of the action still works on that. You can like move the bolt and everything. Sometimes a trigger engages, sometimes it doesn't. So I guess that's just sometimes when they've deactivated it will catch, sometimes it won't. You can remove the magazine. All they've basically done really with that is taken the firing pin out and put a weld in the barrel. But the action all moves on it and everything. I've had a few videos recently that all, like, in a span of like a couple of days, all got demonetized. And then I appealed them. I think most of them have been like reconfirmed and they're back monetized again. But there was like no rhyme or reason to it, so it wasn't the person that demonetized them. It was obviously like a bot type thing where it just randomly demonetizes them. There's a couple of videos I've just not bothered appealing because I don't know if they'd put them back up or not. And I just can't be asked if they have some sort of system where if you appeal too many videos and they're not eligible, if they like strike you or something, so I've not. I quite like open bolts. I mean, I know that's very primitive as far as like firearms go, but I just find open bolts quite interesting because they're like the most basic primitive kind of automatic movement, really. And like they're the easiest to make if you were to make one. Not that I would obviously do that because I'm in the UK where that would be illegal, but I just find open bolts quite interesting because of that reason. Somewhere between 90 and 100, I would guess, Logan. As I said, I've had quite a few of mine appealed where I've like appealed them, they've reinstated them, but yeah, you never get to talk to a person with the whole thing. I think that was about £400, but bear in mind this was a few years ago, back when before they changed the deactivation laws again. Now they've changed them again, everything's more expensive and everything is like more welded shut, which is why I can't really be bothered to buy any new deacs again. Okay, yeah. So yeah, if the auto appeal doesn't work, nobody really looks at it. It doesn't surprise me. But like I said, with some of my videos, I can't work out a rhyme or reason why some of them become demonetised and others don't. Like, sometimes you can do, like, several videos on a similar subject. Some get demonetised, others don't. You can appeal them, and sometimes they'll reinstate some and not others. But I don't really want to talk about that too much on this stream. That's cool, yeah, the MP4's alright. It's a pretty close clone of the M17, actually. Favourite one's that one. Foul. But out of AKs and M16s, I probably like the AK-74 more than the M16. It's pretty close. But obviously I can't shoot any of them here anyway. Yeah, I wouldn't pay $180 for an M50, personally. I got mine for £50, because you're also going to struggle to get M50 filters as well, because they use their own kind of filter. But like I said, I very rarely pay more than like £50 for a mask. I've only ever spent £100 on a mask once, and every other mask I've bought's been, you know, anywhere between like £10 and sort of £70. But most of them I wouldn't pay more than 30 for, I guess. Browning High Power is my favourite John Browning gun. It completely depends on the helmet, because you can pretty much have any helmet in any shape or any... Because even if you make a helmet out of Kevlar or steel, you can always put like a plastic cover on it or like a fabric liner, you know, with a camo pattern on. So I don't think there's really much difference. It depends what helmet you personally like the shape of. I like Stahlhelm style helmets, but you could make, you know, them out of whatever. Oh, titanium is better than steel, yes, but there's not that much made of titanium other than some of like the old Swiss and Soviet helmets. Just because I think the price per unit of making them was too high. Yeah, oh yeah, cheers Rich, I always forget to tell people to like the stream. Well, I just like the FAL because of the history of it, really. You know, because although it wasn't originally meant to be in 7.62 NATO, I think it was 280 British, wasn't it? The original caliber they wanted to put it in. But just, you know, because it was so mass-produced and used by about 90 countries during the Cold War. Obviously, Right Arm of the Free World was the name it's given. I think it's just a really cool gun. And the L1A1 fixed some of the problems the regular FAL had. Like, supposedly L1A1s are more reliable. Again, I can't shoot this one, so I can't vouch for that. But supposedly it's like you can force rounds into battery a bit easier with an L1A1 if it jams up and stuff like that, and it extracts a bit better than regular FALs. But in general I just think it's a really cool design. And I quite like retro style firearms as well. As much as I know that you get more accuracy and everything from like a very modern like free floating barrel kind of design, I quite like the old sort of wood furniture style things and like early gun plastics. Only if you had enough charcoal in the snorkel that the surface area would be good enough to filter gas and that the air would still come through, so you didn't suffocate. In theory it might work if your tube on the snorkel worked as, you know, if your snorkel tube worked as a filter, but it would have to be packed dense enough but not too dense. So, I say it wouldn't be very practical, but it might actually work. If I could only have one, camo. Because there's lots of things like branches and whatever else that you can shove into regular camouflage clothing to help break up your form. I think ghillie suits are a bit overrated because like all the people who played Call of Duty and whatever, that if somebody's in a really obvious place of one, it's still not going to break up your form very well. Thanks Mike, I'll open that link as well and then watch that later. I did hear there was something else they were doing that was going to screw over a load of channels. I can't remember what it was, but I'll have to just try and think back. Dragunov just simply because it's a more modern rifle. I'm assuming it has a better MOA, does it, the Dragunov? But in pretty much, if you could have any firearm like that, especially if it's the same caliber, just one's the modern one, one's the old one. If I could, you know, if it was a choice of me having it, I'd always rather have the newer thing. But I'm saying, I just, for the cool factor, like a lot of older rifles and things. Yeah, I did get quite a lot of angry comments, shall I say, on the katana video where I said it's not the best sword ever made, and I wasn't even particularly saying it was a bad sword. But, you know, like I was saying, the person saying that no, samurai were such good swordsmen that they don't need good guards on a katana, because Europeans only put better guards on the swords because they were inferior swordsmen. I don't think that's a very good arguing point. Yeah, of course I have GP5s, I have 2 GP5s, and I have GP5Ms and whatever else. It's quite interesting, yeah, because I've heard there's a couple of other things people have investigated before for designing filters, and they've often been dropped, but apparently there's another one. It's like really fine metal mesh can apparently be used to neutralise some kind of chemicals. Like, I guess it's a catalytic conversion with metal mesh, and apparently, you know, if they did that for a filter, it'd be far more efficient as a filter and last longer. But I think it's just like, again, the cost of doing it and the technology needed to make them is just too high. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with liking the katana. I think they're very nice looking swords. But, you know, it's where people get... They think the katana can do literally everything. You know, oh, it's better than pole arms, it's better than every other kind of sword. It's like, well, not really. It's good at a specialised thing it was designed for. Well, I personally wouldn't have paid $110 for an S10. Did you order it in a size 2 though? Or was it that you just didn't know what size it was and it came in a size 1? Yeah, and when my friends sort of was going on about that sort of thing as well, saying it's, you know, people that get very defensive over a culture they've sort of adopted rather than their own sort of thing. But yeah, like I said, I'd always prefer a polearm, because I think without proper training you can always do more of a polearm. You can also exert a lot more force than with a sword using a polearm, and that's just simply physics. Like I was saying about chopping down all that ivy earlier. What I was doing with a billhook you could never do with a sword. In general, I just think polearms are better, and most of history would agree with that, because polearms were the mass-produced infantry weapon for pretty much every civilization in the world up until the modern firearm era, like with muskets, and even then put big bayonet on a musket to turn it into a sort of a spear. Yeah, I said that in the video about the katana, that, you know, they're very good, the workmanship on them is very good for the iron quality they had, which was essentially pig iron, but, you know, you can't claim it's the best sword ever. Something that's been made very well by somebody of poor materials is not as good as something made to a decent standard using good materials. What are you on about, Vladimir? I've not sworn at anybody for late Patreon payments. But I don't really notice at my end if they've been delayed or not, because as long as they... All I've done at my end now is I've changed it so when people sign up for Patreon it charges them instantly, because what it used to do is it would charge them, I think, at the first of a month. So if somebody signed up on, let's say, the second of a month, they wouldn't be charged right till the next of the month. So what a lot of people would do is they try and sign up, get a Discord invite, and then cancel the thing. So I've changed that now, and it's just easier for me if people want to support me on Patreon and it charges them instantly. I have no idea where you can get like a 20mm bayonet if such a thing exists. I imagine you probably could for an under rail on a rifle, but most rifles have a bayonet lug socket at the end of the barrel. like actually on the sort of flash hider kind of area. I think the IP4 is actually cooler than the IP5 personally, but there's not much difference. I think IP5s had more configurations to work underwater and IP4s didn't. Oh, the IP4M is the one I like more. No, I don't have an MP40. Nazi German rifles and firearms and submachine guns and everything are normally thousands of pounds deactivated just simply because of the Nazi appeal of them. That's cool, Vladimir. Like I said, I'm not fussed. Like I said, I'm not kicking anybody off of the Discord or anything. If they only want to pay me once and that's it, like I said, it's not a problem. No, but I think somebody's pretty stupid to test a rebreather. I mean, it's their funeral, isn't it, if something goes wrong, but it's like, personally, I would not risk life and limb for the sake of making a video. By the M59, do you mean the Hungarian M59, which is a PMG? Do you mean, is that the Italian M59? Or do you mean the Yugoslavian M1 that's also known as the M59? So which mask do you mean before I say if that's better than the GP5 or not, or if I personally prefer it than the GP5 or not? Out of all the Stalker games, Call of Pripyat I think is just the one that's best at release. You know, like you can play it without installing mods and it works properly. Yeah, well, I mean, there's just a lot of things that can go wrong with a rebreather. Because you're meant to have proper training if you're ever going to use a rebreather, which obviously people like me in the gas mask community don't have, if you're just messing about with one, which is why I've never used them. If the scrubber units are really old, there's a lot more of a danger of something going wrong, and yeah, you can either suffocate, moisture can get into the scrubber unit, which can create poison gas, which can kill you, or, you know, the scrubber unit can set on fire and explode, which again could kill you, maim you, destroy your house, whatever. So like I said, personally I would not mess around with old rebreather canisters. I already answered your question and said I don't have an MP40. As said, Metro Exodus, I might get it when it's on the sale, but I'm not a big fan of the Metro games. No, I've not heard of that game, if that's a game. I assume it's a game if it's, you're saying have I played. That's very interesting. I didn't know there was actually a military variant of it. Or, you know, like a military... So, now obviously there's the SHM41, which was before the GP5, and then the GP5's kind of that design cheapened. Isn't there also one that's SHM66, or am I imagining that? I didn't even see what you asked, Simon. Oh, it's not a rule, it's just that it's an FAQ thing. No, but that sounds kind of pointless, because if you're stabbing somebody, they're going to die from the stab wound, aren't they? Sounds like a very overly complicated weapon. No, I don't have a PO box. I on purposely don't have one. Do you mean good for buying riot shields? Old, decent riot shields turn up on eBay now and again. I've never tested the Chinese ones, so I don't know how good they'd be. Because you can buy brand new Chinese riot shields on eBay, but I don't know how good they be. Yeah, I play video games now and again, nowhere near as much as I used to. The most recent things I've been playing have been Outlast 2, Dungeon Warfare 2. I've got Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain installed, but I haven't got around to starting that yet. I really ought to. Warhammer 40,000 Gladius, Relics of War. I started playing recently. I'd sometimes stream games on this channel as well. Okay. I'm still going to probably end up saying SHM because I'm just literally doing it off the initials. So it's SHM, is it? Like SHM rather than the SHM. SHM. No, I don't have any of those. No, I've never played Roblox. I quite like a lot of the Soviet helmets, but I don't have any of them. I've just got the Hungarian copy of one of them, which I think is called something like the M70. It's almost exactly the same helmet. Alright, that's the Lee Enfield there. Next rifle along is the SLR. Then there's a katana. Then there's a hand-way arming sword, and there's a flail, and you can just about see a saber at the very side of the screen as well, and there's also a recurve bow that side. Oh, and a flat bow that you can just see as well below. I used to like Team Fortress 2 before they, you know, kept adding more and more updates and the class balance went all over the place. I liked it kind of as a stock game, but I don't really like it more. I've played a bit of Overwatch as well, but I haven't played that in ages, but I quite liked Overwatch as well. Have a think about that, Mike. I'm still going to keep looking on Blades and Bows in case while they've got their thing on, you know, I spot anything on there I'd like, because I would like to get more stuff from Blades and Bows, but at the moment I've not seen anything more I want. What I would really like to get more of is bayonets, but often I don't really see bayonets for sale, or if I see them for sale they're like stupid prices. So it'd probably end up just being a gas mask or a helmet, I'd guess, just due to, you know, there's probably more variants around. No, don't play Fortnite. Ah, okay. That makes sort of sense. I've played some of the older Battlefield games, but I've not played Battlefield 5 or Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 4, was it, as well? The most recent ones. I'd like to go back to the medieval period, but I wouldn't want to be stuck there for very long, just due to all the disease, lack of medicine, war, but I think it'd be quite interesting to see it. As I said before, there's lots of places in the US I'd like to visit, but it's saving up and doing it at some point is the actual thing. Which Swedish mask does he mean? Does he mean the Skeed Mask 90 or whatever it's called? The like Forshida one, the F2. Because I've got the F2A4, which is a civilian variant, and that is a very nice mask. The military one's better because it's got the drinking tube on it and you can swap the filters around. Like the filter ports. But the voice diaphragm on it's a bit basic. It's very similar in quality to like an FM12, like S10 style mask. I would say it is a very good mask. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's probably the best mask, but it is a very high quality good one, yeah. Yep, bayonets are totally legal to own in the UK. You can't just walk around carrying them in the street, but in terms of just buying them as collectibles, they're legal. It's just like things like UK eBay, they don't sell them on there, you're not allowed to list bayonets. Some people do, and you can in theory buy them through eBay. But like UK eBay doesn't list them and things like that, so it means you have to go to more specialised sites to buy them. So I've bought bayonets before from the place I buy the deactivated guns from, but they don't always have that many bayonets in, and quite often they can be very expensive for what they are, so that's why I don't really have many. Well, you can connect masks if they're pressurised properly with air canisters in theory, like air tanks, but a rebreather would last longer because of its design, because it's essentially recycling air rather than, you know, you're using up a certain amount of air. And it depends what the use is for them. Like, rebreathers do have certain uses. As far as I understand as well, with like deep water diving, rebreathers let you breathe at deeper depths where you couldn't breathe using an air tank because of like the mixture of oxygen to nitrogen and all that. Again, I don't really understand that stuff from a scientific perspective, so I'm not going to try and claim I do, but I have a feeling that's why rebreathers are more useful in certain environments. But rebreathers also were developed before things like the aqualung, so, you know, compressed air in a tank is a more recent thing than a rebreather. I think I've said before about the US, but it's like, ideally I'd like one of the more northern states that has, you know, weather conditions more similar to a lot of Europe. Even if the gun laws weren't as good about living in a state like that, they'd still be much better than the UK. And, you know, I just get on with the climate better. You know, like the Deep South, as much as they probably have the best gun laws in America, I certainly would not get on with a country, you know, where it, not country, like a state or whatever, or county where you've got, you know, like lots and lots of days plus 30-40 degrees Celsius and very humid. I could not cope with that. No, I can't live stream. I'm not live streaming anything tomorrow. I live stream on Mondays and Thursdays normally. And like I said, at the moment I've just been doing webcam streams, not game streams, because more people tend to watch these. The majority of filters are RD40 or NATO. GOST filters are basically any of the old Warsaw Pact filters, or the old Soviet filters. Modern Russian filters are still GOST, and I think that's probably it. You've got a few other types of filters that are normalised as well, so they should fit either mask fine, but I think it's only really Russia and maybe a few of the Russian republics, and maybe countries like Kazakhstan, I don't know actually, that use GOST now. But for the most part, everybody just uses 40mm NATO, RD40. That makes sense, Caleb. Like I was saying, I'm sure that is what it is. It's just I don't understand the science of it enough. You know, when people ask me that, I'm going to try and bullshit them and tell them that. I'm not saying you're bullshitting, obviously. What I'm saying is that if I try and say that stuff, it sounds like I'm bullshitting because I don't really know it. But all I know is that, yeah, you can't go to certain depths with a regular air tank. I don't have a C4. I've heard they're very good, but I don't have one, so I can't really comment. That's interesting. I would not have thought that you'd have bits of Arizona where it snows. Yep, civilians in the UK can buy ballistic plates, but they're pretty expensive. Yeah, I've said to my friend as well, Mike, that although I'm going to pick him up later tonight, I'm not going to pick him up tomorrow. So that means when you're streaming, I can be on for the entire time as well. It's not like at 10 PM I'm going to have to go off for 20-30 minutes to pick him up. I suppose mosquitoes have more chance of giving you some sort of infection, don't they, through disease, like, as far as I'm aware anyway. Right, what's 107 Fahrenheit in Celsius? 41 Celsius, yeah, that sounds pretty horrible. But saying that, my room was getting to 35-40 Celsius last summer just because the insulation in here, and we had a hot summer that lasted for ages. That's why this year I'm definitely just going to buy an air conditioner, just because I think spending £200 or £300 on an aircon that allows me to sleep and live comfortably during the summer would be good. Because the thing a lot of people don't get with the UK is that because we're not used to the weather being so hot until recent years, lots other than cars, most new things don't come with aircon, so nobody has like air conditioning in their house. A few workplaces will have aircon, but that's about it. So you know, a lot of people say, why don't you just stick your aircon on if it's really hot summer? You can't in the UK. Well, personally, as I said, I like the CT12 the most, and I'd, you know, like to use that. I mean, in theory, I guess Avon's newest masks, like the FM53, and I guess like companies like Airbus, their newest masks are probably better than the CT12. But again, I don't have them, and I think the CT12 and FM12 are kind of like one of those masks at a very good price on the surplus market for how good they are. Whereas, you know, masks that are still going to cost you £200 to £300 to buy, I'm not really going to recommend to people. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, and that's like one of the reasons why rebreathers last longer, isn't it? Unless you have loads and loads of air tanks. Because you're recycling the air, so if you have a big bladder with the rebreather and the scrubber unit, you're going to get a lot of recycled air out of it compared to what you'd get with a single air tank. Yeah, it's 21.2 in my room. I always end up turning the central heating off in this house because I just wear a couple of layers if I get cold. I prefer doing that. The only time I really like the central heating on is just to prevent the pipes getting damaged if it gets cold enough, but this has been a pretty mild winter. I've just got a message, let me check what that is. I've just replied to a text. Yeah, my friend's dogs and cats pretty much sleep in front of his oven, because they always have the oven on. It's one of those ovens that has a permanent kind of thing, but it's like very well insulated. But all his pets literally are just always snuggled up next to each other in front of the oven, which I find quite funny, because I wouldn't think the cats and the dogs would like each other, but they do. Or apparently they don't mind each other if they're next to the heat. I suppose it's because pistols are concealable. It's like in the UK, with a Section 1 firearms licence, you can have something like a Lee Enfield, but you can't have a pistol. So I assume it's probably similar to that. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I don't randomly wear a gas mask around on the street. I think some people think I might do that, but no, I don't. The only time I've worn them out in public is for a fun run, or if I've actually ever needed them on for something. But I don't randomly say, let's put on a gas mask and walk around the roads and wave at people. I don't really have a best filter to recommend. Israeli Type 80 filters are very good if you can find them sealed in date for a decent price, but for the most part, any modern military CBR NBC filter like FP5 filters I like, because they fit GOST and NATO masks and you can still get them in date on eBay. And they're, you know, like foil sealed and then the filter's sealed under the foil. But, you know, any filter you can find in date that does what you want the filter to do is good if it's a sensible price. That's the way I'll look at it. I don't know about folding stock stuff in the UK because I don't have a Section 1 or Section 2 firearms licence. Machine guns, as far as I'm aware, are totally banned except for, like, military and stuff like that. Folding stock rifles, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if they're legal as long as they're bolt action or, you know, like, manual action kind of thing, because the UK's rule, as far as I understand it, is if it's not in 22 long rifle, it can't be semi-auto. It has to be, you know, like a bolt action or whatever else. Before the 1980s, though, you could have pretty much anything in semi-auto, but the laws got a lot stricter after the Hungerford massacre, and then the pistol ban was after the Dunblane shooting. Now, as I said quite a lot of times, I don't see the point with the current laws, because I don't have anywhere to shoot my... If I bought a gun, I'd have nowhere to shoot it, because I can't legally discharge it in my back garden. There's no decent gun clubs near me, because I actually spent a while looking for that. So, you know, I don't see the point in paying a license and jumping through all the hoops to just have a gun that's going to gather dust in a safe. I just got mine on eBay, but that was years ago, so as I said, I can't give you a link to it or anything, because it was years ago. There's a few sites in the UK that specialise in selling, like, replica guns and, like, replica gas masks and that, so maybe they'd stock them, but I don't know. Because I know that there's some companies that do, like, corrected box respirators and, like, small box respirator replicas and, like, reproductions that are pretty good quality. But because they're close to £100, I'd never pay that for a reproduction, personally. Yeah, I'm sure the UK has a law like that. I think the UK one is you can't shoot within a certain distance from people's land boundaries. So it meant obviously if you're in a city, you're always going to be too close to land boundaries. I think if you have an underground gun range, it's legal though. But yeah, it generally means people that do shooting on their property obviously have enough property that they've got a few acres of land. And land is very expensive in the UK, obviously bear in mind that it's a very small country. I mean, obviously if you know a farmer and they were happy for you to, like, do pest control on their land, that's how a lot of people do shooting. But most of the farms near us aren't farms anymore because the land's just all been sold off to build houses on. So, sadly, there's not even farming near me anymore. I don't think the French had a World War I cheek filter mask. Some of the French masks had Tissot tubes on them, which were really quite a few countries made rebreathers because they were standard equipment for like I think like Navy personnel at one point. And like miners still have rebreathers as far as I'm aware, like very small, like hour use ones or whatever they are. In terms of what rebreather is best, a modern safe one, I would say that. If you're gonna mess about with a rebreather, make sure you buy one that's like a modern one made by a company with good standards. Don't use an old surplus rebreather. Yeah, the Israeli 4A1, that's a good mask. It's basically a Draeger Simplex, but it's a good mask for what it is. I have a PPSH, it's down there, I can't really get it easily, but I've shown that before. PPSH 41. That is a bit weird, Dimmy Pop, yeah. It depends, if it's combat BDUs, like I wear combat trousers all the time, unless I'm going somewhere where I'm meant to be dressing, you know, more smartly or I'm at work. Because that's just because they've got more pockets in and everything, and you've got like more zip up pockets or like button up pockets, and you've got, main thing I like is, you know, you've got those like leg sort of thigh pockets on them. So you've got pockets that are really deep that you can put like mobile phones in and stuff like that. Because the thing I hate is if you're driving and you're wearing jeans or whatever, mobile phones or wallets jamming you in the crotch when you're moving your legs on the clutch and things like that, or the accelerator. Whereas if you have military trousers, or just like cargo pants kind of things, cargo trousers, because you've got the side pockets that are part way down the leg, it does not get in your way at all having a phone or a wallet in those pockets. Well, I wear camo because I really don't care, because like I said, it's practical for what I'm doing a lot of the time, so I wear it. If I'm around hiking, or, you know, doing stuff, nobody bats an eye at you wearing camo. But like I was saying, I wouldn't wear full camo randomly around the shops or something like that. But yeah, if somebody's saying like I'm wearing an SS uniform to school, that is a bit weird, isn't it? Let's be honest. But like I was saying, a lot of people around where I live, you will see people just randomly wearing military camo coats or trousers just because they're practical wear for being outside in cold weather or whatever. Do you mean the GM30? The GM30 and the GM38 were the two World War II military German masks. There was also the Volksmask 37, Volksmask 40 and Volksmask 44 as civilians masks. But if you mean the ones that are in the tins that hanged on their bout, or like, you know, they had the straps on the tins and then they were wearing the tins, those are normally GM30s or GM38s. I've got videos on the GM38 if you want to see one on my channel, but it's not in great condition. Yeah, where I work, some people wear camo, but they're the people that work more outside in the garden centre. Just because, again, it's practical clothing if you're working outside doing stuff like that. Because the thing is, it's like, if I go into a lot of the actual sports stores, or like hiking stores, like, you know, camping stores kind of things, if I was to buy something that's a rough equivalent in, like, build quality to a lot of surplus trousers and things like that, you'd be looking at £50+ for them. If I buy second-hand surplus that's in, you know, like grade A or grade B condition, you know, you get it and you wash it, that is normally £10. So I would personally rather have 5 sets of different camo trousers than have one £50 pair of like olive green cargo trousers. The job I do at the weekends is a kitchen porter, so that's mostly like cleaning kind of job. Then obviously I do YouTube videos as well, because I kind of just do two things now. And I kind of like doing that because it means you're a bit safer having two forms of income than you are, you know, just doing one job for more hours. And I volunteer on Thursdays, as I said, but I'm not paid to volunteer. That's I said volunteering. Yeah, I know Papers, Please. There's actually a video on this channel of a like synth remake I did of the Papers, Please theme. Yeah, I've bought from Varustelka before, however it's pronounced. Although I found at different times their shipping has either been expensive or cheap to the UK. When I bought from Varustelka, I bought an East German NBC suit and they sent me the wrong model, but they sent me the more expensive one rather than the cheaper ones. It didn't bother me too much. and that was before anybody on UK eBay had East German NBC suits in stock. But yeah, I know most people like them. Right, hopefully you make it then. Certainly don't want you to be out of work. Most of the Combine masks are based on Soviet masks. They're sort of like somewhere between the PMG and SHMS, really. But the really good thing about where I work is it's at a garden centre. And it's, you know, literally like 10 minutes walk from my house, only a couple of minutes in the car. So that's the main thing I like about working there, is, you know, there's like no commute time. Even if the roads were jam-packed, I could get there in like 10 minutes from my house. So that's the main thing I really like about working there, is just how close it is to where I live, you know. Yeah, I'm going to have to look into some more work trousers, because I have some blue cargo trousers I wear when I'm volunteering, but they're not very warm. That's the only problem with those. They're quite thin, so when they eventually arrive, I've got some thermal leggings that I can wear under them just to keep my legs a bit warm. I don't normally get cold legs, but I do with, you know, it's like some of these, just if it's a cold day, it's minus something outside and you've got a chilly wind, my legs will get cold. But yeah, if I can find some decently thick, like work building site kind of trousers, I might get some of those, because I'd like some that are just, you know, kind of not military looking trousers, but just have a lot of pockets in, and, you know, are like pretty good, strong, rip-proof material. Yeah, exactly. I would not want a long commute time. When I used to work in the city, the bus could be anywhere like 30 minutes plus. You know, and if your bus was late at certain times of day, it could be, you know, ages you would spend commuting or waiting, or if traffic was bad, sometimes you'd be stuck in traffic for over an hour. So yeah, I do not miss that at all, having to get the bus, rely on a bus to turn up. I like being able to walk to work or take my car, you know, a very short drive. I've not actually got any Nintendo consoles other than the old Game Boy Color. But I've not had a GameCube or anything like that. I've got the Dolphin GameCube emulator, because I played Time Splitters Future Perfect on that on this channel not too long ago, streamed all of that. But can't really say, you know, good stuff about the Wii or whatever, because I've never really had any modern Nintendo consoles. Oh, I've got, I think I've got a Dickies boiler suit. I've got definitely one Dickies thing. I think it's a boiler suit. And that's very good, you know, like comfortable. It's just the right temperature to keep you warm but not get you too hot. So yeah, I might have a look at some Dickies work trousers. Trousers is what we call pants in the UK, Vladimir. Because I think in a lot of countries people call them pants, but in the UK, any kind of long-legged thing is a trouser. I've had some other Casio watches. I quite like Casio, but only if you're not paying too much for them. Because like with my Casio Wave Scepter, it was one of the really good models, and then the solar bit stopped working properly on it when it was out of guarantee. So, at the moment I've got a Seiko. Like I said, I've had this Seiko for ages. I like it. The only thing is if it doesn't have loom on it. This Seiko Kinetic, and I quite like that. But, you know, as long as it's a watch that's not going to fall apart on you, I don't think it matters too much, especially because you get quartz watches so cheaply. Now you're going to get something that's going to be pretty accurate all the time. I have a couple of Milsert belts, but they're not really belt buckles. They're just, you know, full-on belts which have a buckle on them as well. As I was saying, I don't mind jeans. It's just I don't like jeans for when I'm driving or if I've got valuables in my pockets, just because they tend to have very small pockets that, you know, like right up my crotch. That's why I just don't like jeans most of the time. GP5s came out some point in the 60s, I believe, but, and I'm going to say Shem series, if I'm pronouncing that right, Vladimir, is obviously older than that, like the series of masks they sort of span off from. I mean, lots and lots of people wear jeans here, or the weird ones, skinny jeans, where you see guys wearing jeans that look like they're castrating themselves. I don't know how they'd ever wear those, personally. I wouldn't want to wear something that was crushing my ballsack when I was, you know, out. But whatever. I prefer, for casual wear, if it's like casual formal, I prefer nice looking chinos to jeans, but chinos, again, they're like cottony trousers. But as I said, for where I'm wearing just like casual stuff when I'm working, I like sort of, you know, like surplus style trousers, just because they're hard wearing and they've got lots of pockets in. Some people wear tracksuits as well, but personally I don't bother. That's sort of associated as a bit of a chav thing here. I've actually got some tracksuits, I've just not worn them in ages. Again, I don't see any problem with wearing them if you're not wearing them, you know, as like a chavvy kind of fashion thing, if you're just wearing them for practicality reasons, but they've got kind of got a bit of a stigma with them. Yeah, cargo pants, saying like most of the combat trousers I have are essentially cargo pants. They're just, you know, cargo pants with camo on. It's just I found a lot of the military ones are made from a really good sort of cotton and nylon mix, whatever it is, that's really comfortable. Where I found quite, and again it's going to probably depend on brand, but I found a lot more of the, I guess, sort of civvy ones, like work ones, are generally like thinner material, and they're generally made from a lot more polyester or whatever it is, or nylon, so they generally feel a bit itchier. And you know, it's hard to explain, but I can kind of explain that, like, let me just get, because I need to get the pocket out of this, but when I'm volunteering, these were the trousers I bought. Let's take the tactical pen out of that pocket. Whichever brand these were. But, again, these are a lot thinner than combat trousers. They're not bad, I didn't pay too much for them, but I'd much rather wear the combat trousers than these, because, yeah, these have deepish side pockets, which I like, which are Velcro, but, again, they're not... They don't keep your legs that warm in the winter. That's a big problem with them. And they're definitely not as comfortable as combat trousers. Like my Flecton and DPM trousers are much more comfortable to have on your legs all day. You know, much more breathable, but still keep your legs warmer somehow. Yeah, exactly. I've got a couple of pair of trousers which definitely are too tight for me, and I don't like them. As much as they may be fashionable to wear, I don't like wearing them just because I don't want to destroy my manhood, to be quite honest, wearing trousers like that. Even if they're popular, I would much rather wear something that's not cool and is comfortable and practical than, you know, make myself infertile or give myself other serious painful problems wearing trousers like that. Well, in World War II they had a Flecton variant as well. Do you mean modern Flecton or World War II Flecton? I prefer modern Flecton, but I do like SS Leto, like the Russian modernisation of some of the World War II oak leaf patterns. It's a lot of time it's just personal preference, really, if you like some of those camos. Like, some people like some camos, some people don't. Yeah, see, that's the problem I have with certain jobs, is that because they've got a stricter dress code, often you have to wear clothes that aren't that practical for the job. Like, it's quite good where I work, because I get a lot of company uniform that's good enough. And you can wear whatever trousers you want with them, although I think really you shouldn't wear like camo ones, so I just wear like black work trousers that are of quite a decent quality, you know, like dress trousers, I guess you'd call them, ones that are like, you know, that you'd wear with a suit or whatever. Or with like a shirt and tie. I wear those because they're comfortable enough and they're well made enough, and you don't have to pay too much for them, so it doesn't look, you know, so it looks formal enough. But yeah, when I'm volunteering, I try and wear, you know, the closest thing to the work uniform as possible, but I'd much rather wear fit camo trousers, to be honest. I don't think anybody would really care if I did, but it's just, you know, more you're meant to wear a sort of uniform for that. And again, I might look into getting some Dickies trousers, I suppose. I always find it quite funny saying Dickies trousers, but whatever. For cold weather clothing, I would probably assume Russia, Leonard, or similar. Like, somewhere like Russia, Norway, or Finland, I imagine, countries that actually have to deal with a cold climate a lot, probably have good winter wear. The Ukrainian cold weather stuff I've got is very good, but it doesn't really get cold enough in the UK to justify wearing it a lot of the time. I might do a camo test for that one in a couple of weeks' time. I think one of my friends said he'll be free then to do a camo test, so if I get a day where I'm not going to overheat wearing it in the woods, I'll wear that Ukrainian thing. Anyway, I've been streaming for about an hour and a half now, so I'll just finish up seeing what comments there are, and then I'll probably go off, because I don't normally spend this long streaming, but I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been quite good for the most part. Not many trolls on. You know, lots of good questions that give me stuff to talk about, because the thing is, these streams go a lot faster for me and I enjoy them a lot more when there's interesting topics to talk about, not what is your favourite gas mask 100 times over. Yeah, I had been planning on doing some night vision videos, but a lot of time it's just getting around to doing them. But yeah, I'll definitely do some more of them, it's just finding a time to do them, and it's because I only do like 3 videos a week now. I don't want to do too many of them, you know, just because some people moan that they don't like the night vision videos very much. Okay, so the mask, as far as I'm aware, Artyom actually has in the Metro games is one of these, a PPM88 or GP9. However, in the Artyom Collector's Edition thing of Metro, the new Metro game, it's a Finnish M71 as far as I can tell they've put in that kit. Why, I don't know. Maybe because they could buy them cheap and then they can sell the Collector's Edition for loads of money. But in theory, I think it's meant to be a PPM88 he has in the Metro games, this mask. Because that is actually, you know, like a Soviet and modern Russian masks. It makes sense why they'd have those. But anyway, thank you for watching the stream, everybody. It was a good stream. You can always watch it again, Leonard, after I've finished doing it. YouTube then processes it as a video. I know it's not as interactive then, but you can still watch them. Mike said he's doing a stream tomorrow, Weapon Collector. I'm normally always involved chatting on those streams because I enjoy Mike's streams. If you like this sort of thing, it's very similar to that normally, where he sat in front of his gun board and we chat about stuff. But yeah, thank you everybody. It was a very good stream. And yeah, thanks for watching.